Thank you everyone for taking out time today and being here. My name is Zishan. I take care of digital marketing at Utunga. We welcome everyone to the webinar, Engineer and Sensors for Digital Transformation. In today's webinar, we will share the information about the current sensor demands and explain you how to interface the sensors with different industrial protocols. Before we get started, I would like to tell about Utunga. We are a product engineering company, and for over 14 years, we have partnered closely with industrial OEMs to build products and solutions from concept all the way through the lifecycle of the product. Our engineers have added digital layers to mechanical non-digital field devices, built configuration and calibration software, highly sophisticated data integration, visualization and analytics solutions, provided consultation and services on industrial security and quality engineering. We offer services in application development, embedded engineering, IoT, and verification and validation. Our services are targeted to OEMs and end industries in process, factory, and power domains. We follow a strict and secure development lifecycle for all our projects. Next slide. Utunga is present in 4 different locations. We have offices in USA, Germany, Japan, and headquarters in India, which is Bengaluru. We are an ISO 9001 and 27001 certified company with 500 plus engineering professionals striving to deliver world-class services and solutions to our customers. Next slide. These are the few industrial consortiums we closely work with on connectivity and protocols. And that's how we started as a company about 14 years ago. That is connecting field devices and assets to the hardware and software system up in the value chain. Our association with these consortiums is rooted in our commitment to help our customers build interoperable systems. With that, I would like to introduce the speaker for today. Tarang is an in-house embedded design expert with over 9 years of vast experience in different microcontrollers and wireless SoCs. He's highly skilled in different phases of product development, right from the concept which meet the industrial coding standards. He has hands-on experience in coding on various industrial protocols and CPU peripherals. He has co-designed firmware for several industrial wireless, automation, healthcare, access control, and remote tracking products for industries. Currently, he is engaging in to develop drivers and stack and application development. The second speaker for today, Namdev Nayak, is embedded design specialist with 3 years of experience in product development. He has also worked on various industrial sensors, wireless network communication interfaces like Bluetooth 5.0, sub-gigahertz, and etc. His expertise is in porting to various controllers, wireless sensor node development, and testing of wireless devices, which makes him versatile to the team. Just a quick housekeeping points before we get started. The duration of the webinar is 60 minutes. We will utilize the last 10 minutes for Q&A segment. Please send in your Q&As using the Q&A icon in the left-hand side of your screen. The presentation slide and the link of the webinar recording will be emailed to you post the webinar. I request you to click on the full screen icon on your top side, right side of your screen to get good view of the slides. Before I hand it over to the first speaker of today, I would like to have a quick poll of 30 seconds. I request the attendees to please select their options. Are you aware of the current industrial sensor demands? The options are yes, no. We have got a mixed response. Thank you for your answers. Before further delay, I would like to hand it over to Namdev, our first speaker for today.
Thank you, Zishan. So I would like to give a brief on the takeaways from this webinar. So we'll be focusing more on the sensors and its general roles, the journey to engineer sensors for digital transformation, Also, I'll be talking on various aspects, say different activities that needs to be followed in order to engineer sensors for digital transformation. So we'll also be detailing on the impacts of sensor engineering on digital transformation and also on the industrial automation. Wireless sensor network is also a major aspect in sensor engineering. We'll be discussing more on the architecture, frameworks, and its advantages in certain industrial areas. So protocols are the key aspects in sensor engineering process. So choosing the right communication protocol is also a mainstream in the sensor engineering process, which will be detailed out in the coming slides. Finally, the outcome of sensor engineering process. So basically, we'll be explaining about the aspects that are involved in the sensor engineering, and it is of course important for you all to know the conclusion on how we can actually incorporate the digital transformation using those aspects. So in this slide, I'll be empathizing more on the industrial sensor roles in this slide. Industrial sensors have a processing unit, a power unit, and also a wireless unit. So building blocks of sensors are sense, collect, translate, move or actuate, process, power, and software. So as we all can see in the figure, sense is a building block wherein different sensors come into picture like accelerometer, speed, temperature, humidity, pressure, and yeah, also a microphone. These sensors can sense the variation in the medium, basically the analog values, and do the processing. So connect is a building block in sensor where the sensor data that is collected will be transmitted over the wireless network. So it can be over Bluetooth 5 or Bluetooth 4.2. Yeah, it can also be on sub 1 gigahertz, radio, NEC, Wi-Fi, and a lot more. So basically, these are wireless medium where the sensor data will be pushed over the network for the user to visualize the data in a dashboard. So translate is one of the important building block wherein the sensed data will be amplified to get the actual data. So amplification can be done over an audio amplifier or operation amplifier. More actuate is also one of the building blocks. Say there is a requirement to sense moisture content of the soil and switch on the water pump for irrigation. So we use a concept of motor drivers like DC, BLDC motor drivers. In fact, it is to directly bypass a slot in the sensor to connect the industrial input or output devices, so that based on the sensing and sensing element, so the input or output devices can be driven in the industries to match the industrial application requirement. So power is also a key element for the sensor. So a few of the industrial sensors are meant to work on coin cell batteries. These sensors are expected to work continuously for a span of 1 year or say probably 2 years. In these practical scenarios, we have to definitely take into consideration the power aspect in order to achieve good battery life cycle, for better performance and efficiency. Low power devices usually have a high value in the market, and yes, of course, it depends on the functionality of the devices. So few industrial sensors might compulsorily need the AC power supply. So it is very much required, to design the power system of the sensor for better efficiency and accuracy. So few of the important parameters that needs to be considered are the PFR ratio, the power factor. So next is the software. Software also plays a major role, say data acquisition from the sensor. It also does logical calculation, and yeah, it of course has some wireless stacks that are actually integrated to transmit the sensed data. Sensor engineering is a continuous process where sensors are integrated with the controllers to sense certain elements in the field. Different engineering activities are carried out like hardware design, firmware design, testing, verification and validation, and a lot more to meet the requirement. So there are various aspects that needs to be considered in sensor engineering, which will be explained in the coming slides. So purpose of sensor engineering is to transform the manual efforts in the field into digital reality, wherein there will be a reduction in man efforts, and of course it helps us to save some time. Importance of sensor engineering is majorly to meet the industrial revolution. So it reduces the man efforts of data logging. It can be risk reduction by means of alert mechanisms, etc. So field devices are the industrial sensors or devices that are placed in the remote industrial fields or plants. So they are basically used to monitor or drive the assets. So assets are nothing but the industrial equipments that are actually present in the field or the plants. So I can state few of the generic applications like remote monitoring of the asset data. It can also be the predictive maintenance of the motors to detect the motor failures, or it can also be a street light monitoring. So automation pyramid, as you can see in the figures in the right side. So I'll be briefing more on the automation pyramid. Will not be going much in detail because as is a basic foundation before we enter into various aspects that is actually involved in sensor engineering. So the automation pyramid classifies the different IT layers of industrial automated production plants. So every layer or level has its own tasks and IT infrastructure within the production plants. So in general, the automation pyramid is divided into 6 layers, or we can call it 6 levels. So now we know about the automation pyramid, we can actually analyze its link to digital transformation. So automation pyramid is a layered architecture which explains us the different layers to convert the sensor data into reality. In the previous slide, I had explained about the roles of the industrial sensors, which has building blocks like power, sense, actuators, and a lot more. So here are some of the categorization of the sensors. First class of sensors is the basic sensors, like a proximity sensor, photoelectric sensor, level or temperature, and these are the basic sensors that are actually used for prototyping. So the second class of the sensors are the ones with processing unit, like vibration sensors, strain gauge, ultrasonic sensors, and these sensors will have a processing unit inbuilt to process the analog data and push the data as the output. So multi-sensor node design. So this is actually a crucial aspect in the industrial revolution, where a standalone industrial sensor will have multiple sensors embedded in the single enclosure. Say, for example, a multi-sensor node which can sense the ambient temperature and humidity of the field environment, and of course object temperature of a motor. So here this node consists of 2 sensors integrated with a controller. The data that is actually captured will be sent over the RF to any client device. So when creating a multi-sensor node design, we have to keep aspects into consideration like memory, power, microcontroller unit, and also a transceiver unit. So applications are really very vast and wide when it comes to multi-sensor node design. So few of the generic applications can be remote monitoring and controlling the industrial assets, multi-sensing capability for an industrial asset. So in the further slides, I'll be explaining more on the aspects to be considered in sensor engineering process. So these aspects are to be strictly followed in order to get a quality product to the market. There are various aspects that we need to take into consideration in the sensor engineering process, as we can see in the diagram. Protocols. So selection of the right protocol is very much needed for the data communication, which should be as per the requirement. Wireless. So wireless sensor networks are to be focused to meet the industrial standards. And coming to the point of certification of a product. So certification of a product is something wherein when we release a product, it should be universally acceptable. So to meet the industrial standards, or it is also that various industrial certification procedure as well as different variants of certifications will be taken up in the further slides. Testing is also one of the important phases in the sensor engineering process. So there are different tests that will be conducted on a product, like regression testing, crash tests, system testing, full functionality tests, etc. Verification and validation is also one of the important aspect, as it helps to understand our product well, and it'll actually help us focus on building the right product. So the next is miniaturization. Basically, it targets the size of the PCB, volume, etc., and these have to be taken care. AI or analytics. This aspect can help the product take self-decision during hazards and also improve the product quality. So the last but one point is the design. It can be a hardware design or the firmware design. The design system should be rigorous and should meet the industrial standards. So the last but not the least, low footprint design and functional safety are the key aspect, and it should be considered when we take the sensor engineering process to get the idea into reality. And yes, all these aspects will be covered in detail in the further slides. I have just briefed out on the various aspects to be considered by an architect or probably a developer or also a designer in engineering the sensor. Sensor network is a cluster of sensor nodes in a wired or wireless network where the data will be communicated between different nodes over a certain communication protocol. So basically, protocols have a standard format of communication with fixed frames, which can be modified according to customer needs. So protocols are nothing but they are the set of rules that allow two or more communication system to communicate over a medium. So coming to impacts of the communication protocol, they can be communication actually acts like a path for data transfer. So even the data transfer rates can be increased. We can actually minimize the data loss. So as explained in the block diagram, importance of communication in the data communication protocol can be the flow control in the communication and data formatting, data routing, and data forwarding. there are typically two types of communication protocol. They are wired and wireless communication protocol. So wired communication protocols are can be defined as it is the transfer of the data from the transmitter to receiver through a wired medium. They are very simple and effective. So the data transfer rate is also a key in sensor engineering process. Say, for example, a customer needs a vibration sensor to be, polled at some samples per second, maybe 4,000 samples per second, and there might be another customer who might need this, who might need the same sensor, which will be polled at 2,000 samples per second. Here comes the protocol interface. So speed varies when we, compare different communication protocols or interfaces. Hence, selection of the right communication protocol for the sensor is one of the mainstream in the design phase. And more on selecting the right communication protocol will be explained in the coming slides. In this slide, I would like to go in a little depth of few of the communication protocols. So there are different wired communication protocols like, EtherCAT, Profinet, Modbus, HART, Profibus, etc. So there are other protocols and interfaces too, like IO-Link, Profibus, and of course the power constraints vary in individual protocols. So let us explore the first protocol, Profinet. Profinet operates at 100 megabits per second, and also the cables may be up to 100 meters in length. So Profinet is usually ideal for high-speedy applications because of the high operation speed and also a good response time. So Profinet devices have three types of addresses. So they are IP address, MAC address, and the device name. So all the Ethernet devices use IP address and MAC address, but the device name is unique to Profinet devices. So due to high speed and greater flexibility, Profinet is majorly preferred communication protocol for for the industrial application. So the next is the Ethernet. EtherCAT, sorry. EtherCAT, yeah, it is Ethernet for Control Automation Technology. Basically, it's a tech gig based on Ethernet and was specifically developed with industrial automation in mind. So EtherCAT uses standard frames and also the physical layer as characterized in IEEE 802.3. So this is the Ethernet standard. This communication protocol specifically addresses some of the concerns in industrial automation, such as rapid response times, minimal data of requirements for each device, and also low cost of implementation. So yeah, EtherCAT and Ethernet, actually the words are almost similar. So let me highlight the difference. So Ethernet is not a practical solution actually. Basically for industrial application, as it routes the frame of data to and from a vast number of specific addresses, the data might be very simple as a single register to obtain a real-time analog reading. So this is node specific. It requires massive bandwidth because the data is pushed only when the master or a client requests the data. So now EtherCAT, actually this EtherCAT device do the data processing on the fly. Each device processes the data frame that is relevant to it. It can be in the hardware or even in the software. So it works something like this. On the fly, it keeps adding the data to the frame as it runs through the network. So the next is the Modbus as an open protocol. Open protocol. So open protocols are specifications published and may be used by anyone freely or maybe by license. So few of the advantages of open protocols can be, it includes support by multiple manufacturers, software vendors, and also service organizations. Basically, the ability to stay currently trending and also to add the capabilities in the future is under the scope of the open protocols. Modbus is one of the oldest and by far the most popular automation protocol too. So it's majorly used in the field of process automation and SCADA. It is very important for an electrical technician or an engineer to know to understand the know-how of this protocol. So skill is what matters here. Being able to integrate devices from different manufacturers is a skill which is actually in demand right now. So for example, say Modbus enables devices on a system that that measures temperature and humidity connected on the same network. It will communicate the results to a supervisory or a PLC. So the next is Profibus. It operates at 9600 bits per second to 12 megabits per second. So the cable length can go up to 1000 meters long, but shorter cable lengths are required for high data rates. So basically, it's inversely proportional when compared to the data rate characteristics. So the wireless communication protocols can be defined as the protocols that are of standard formats which are used to send the data over the air. So there are different wireless communication protocols like Bluetooth Low Energy, sub 1 gigahertz, and LoRaWAN, and a lot more. So Bluetooth, I'll be focusing more on Bluetooth as well as sub 1 gigahertz in this slide. So Bluetooth is widely used in the short range network. So it can be a simple client server communication model to transfer a certain data over Bluetooth on a 2.4 gigahertz network band, or it can also be a complex mesh network. So there are open source stacks available already, readily available online, and even there are few specialized controllers who actually provide the Bluetooth low energy modules like STM32, Texas Instruments, and even the payload of the data would be 23 bytes, wherein 20 byte payload is for the data and 3 bytes are for the additional device information. So the maximum payload can go up to 512 bytes in a single data transfer. So the range can be maximum up to 100 meters. So it works on GATT profiles model, which enables low power consumption due to properties like notification, indication, read, and write, and also the ability of the stack to put the device in sleep mode when the device is not functioning. So sub 1 gigahertz is also a RF based communication where there will be an individual collector to collect the data from multiple sensor nodes. So each network will have its own PAN ID. So PAN is nothing but personal area network. So a maximum of 15 to 16 nodes can be accommodated in the network, and of course the distance is around 830 meters. That is basically the range when we have a clear line of sight. And yes, these protocols have a good security feature enabled. So these security features will be discussed in detail by my colleague Sarang. As I had already explained about a case study problem statement on polling the speed of a sensor, vibration sensor, say around 2000 samples per second or maybe 4000 samples per second, based on the customer requirement. It is very important for an architect to select the right wired or wireless communication protocol. So there are various aspects that needs to be considered when choosing the right communication protocol. So they are basically as follows. So you can see in the diagram, the first is a data transfer rate. So every protocol has its own limit on the data transfer rate, and hence it is very important to to understand the data transfer rate of the customer or the client and then proceed it. Efficiency and scalability. So scalability in design system is an important aspect, which means how fast the design can be changed or modified according to the requirement. So is it we have to ask ourselves the question that is it feasible and capable of modifying the design in a minimum amount of time. So this is one of the aspects that we need to take care. And the next is the field environment. So devices may be kept in remote environment wherein the sensor nodes might have to face some of the battery acid formations, or it can be kept in the nuclear plants or the power grids where there is no entry to humans. So using wired communication bus will not be a right solution, and hence having the idea of the field environment is very much needed to select the right communication protocol. And again, the maximum payload restriction. If the user has a requirement of receiving 230 bytes to the gateway in one frame, I mean in a single shot, from a sensor node, then we might have to check for the right communication protocol that is actually best suitable for this application. And the wireless range, say the user needs the sensor data to be communicated to a standalone gateway in a wireless sensor network, then having less range between two devices will not make any sense, right? Like it is a must know for the architect or for the designer or the developer to know the distance or range the customer is actually expecting. So the above parameters, whatever I've discussed, are with respect to the tech geeks, but there are also other parameters that needs to be considered when choosing the right communication protocol. So it can be wired or wireless. So basically the cost. So entire cost of the elements, it can be cables for a wired communication protocol or protocol stacks for efficient performance. So when a product has some n number of features, and if the product costs too high, then it is of no use, right? So the second one is a resource. Selecting a protocol and then implementing from scratch the entire product doesn't make any sense, when the deadline is very less. Hence, searching for readily available stacks is also one of the key parameters that we need to focus. So anyways, that's my take for the webinar. I would like to hand it over to Sarang for further slides. It's all yours, Sarang.
Yeah, thanks, Namdev. Hello, everyone. Here in this, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
So in this slide, I would like to emphasize how the wireless impacts in the digital transformation. As you can see in the picture, there is a presentation of an industrial plant. This has few sensors node that are connected in the DCS, which is sending the continuously the sensing data and continuously sending to the cloud from a DCS gateway. As you know, each sensor is independent and not tied each other with any wired connections. It is very easy for installation and it is very flexible to upgrade the network. Wireless sensor networks helps to have distributed functions, which helps for decentralization and automation functions. This enables reduced development and deployment and maintenance, and it also enables plug and play. It also enables fast commissioning and configuration, etc. For any rotating or moving operations, the wireless would be the most suitable. Any fault in the nodes can easily identify and can be isolated from the network, which will take very less effort. In the below image, you can see a typical architecture of a gateway. There are two modes of data communication in the wireless network, that are uplink layer and downlink layer. Consider there are a couple of sensor nodes which collect the measurable parameters and sending the data to the gateway or multi-sensor node. This can be referred as a downlink. That means the communication between the gateway and several node devices will consist of downlink layer, which can be a Bluetooth, LoRa, or sub-1 GHz, etc. Where the communication between the gateway and the cloud is considered to be uplink layer, that can be a GSM or Wi-Fi, etc. Here, the bidirectional data movement and the communication medium used in the network can actually decide the complete network performance. As you know, the gateway is a sensor network. A gateway in the sensor network is very important and act as a bridge between the sensor node and to the cloud. And the gateway act as a centralized machine. The gateway can perform data acquisition from multi-sensor nodes and in a wireless network. Adding additional nodes or configuring nodes with the gateway is very simple and effective in this particular architecture. And there won't be any latency if a proper bidirectional data model is implemented in the architecture. Basically, when the internet is down in the gateway, we can implement a store and forward mechanism that can be achieved by using a flash memory or a micro SD card, so that once the gateway is up with the internet, the stored data values can be pushed to the cloud, and the data in the external flash can be rewritten. And even the gateway can be designed with multi-protocol support to communicate with different kind of sensor in the downlink layer. Next slide, please. Verification and validation is the main aspect that needs to be considered while engineering sensors. Verification is the process of determining whether the product of a given phase, please note here, it's a product of the given phase in the development cycle to fulfill the requirements. Validation is the process of evaluating the product at the end of the development process to ensure the compliance with the product requirements. These steps involve the sensor engineering cycle to ensure whether we are building the right product. The various scenarios to be considered here, like the performance of the product calibration, pre-compliance, certification, and country-specific directives. The sensor performance test measure the performance of a sensor system. Usually, we do this in the well-defined laboratory with using some well-defined simulation setup, where the calibration is an adjustment or set of adjustments can be performed on a sensor to make the device function as accurately or error-free as possible. Proper sensor calibration will yield accurate measurement, which in turn makes good control of the process possible. Regarding certification, since it's an important concern for marketing the product, we will be explaining in the upcoming slides. Anyways, our ultimate goal is to build the right product. Next slide, please. Certification. Certification is also a very vast area which has a lot of standards and region dependency. I'll be detailing on certification, its importance, benefits, and different types of certification in the couple of slides. So as defined, the certification is the universal approval of the product by any agency or certified agency to ensure that the products meet the functional, security, and safety requirements. The benefits of the certification are: the certification ensure that your system or your equipment are compliant for all the relevant safety standards and operate correctly in response to all the type of inputs. Also, it's the certification establish an effective safety management to deal with potential operator errors and environmental changes, hardware and software failures. The certification reduces the safety risk in our industrial environment, including hazards caused by malfunctioning of complex system, and this can avoid the liability claims and costly reworks. The data security is also a concern here for certification. The certification from a trusted third-party organization enhances the product markability also. Next. Next slide, please. Here you can see a type of certifications. Here we have listed a couple of certifications like IEC 61508, ATEX certification, CE certification, FCC, and UL certification. ATEX certification is also known as ATEX 153. It's one of the European certification, and it's used for intrinsic safety approval. Intrinsic safety is nothing but on a very high level, limiting the electrical and thermal energy produced from the device, which may cause any ignition in the hazardous area. So Uttunga has already done a detailed webinar on this topic, which you can refer later if you are really interested in intrinsic safety. Next is CE certification, which is for administrative marketing, mainly for the products sold in European or economic area. FCC is for United States, which is a certification for electronic products. So to manufacture and sell any electronic product in US, we need this certificate. UL is a type of certification which ensures that the product meets industrial standards. Next slide, please. Here, let us understand more on IEC 61508. This is an international standard published by International Electrotechnical Commission, IEC. This certification ensures the safety integrity level. It deals with functional safety in two major aspects. Those are hazards and risk analysis and safety integrity level. There are different industry-specific certification variant. You can see in the table given below. Consider there are some application for car manufacturers. So we have to go for ISO 26262, and if it is a railway application, we have to use IEC 62279 and so on. In for example, power plants, we have to use IEC 61513. Next slide, please. Artificial intelligence. Actually, this is the main thing which I wanted to concentrate more on in this webinar. So what is the relevance of AI in sensors? As you know, the downtime for industrial machines or engines or heavy equipments can lead to direct loss in revenue in the business. The accurate prediction of such failures using sensor data can prevent or reduce the downtime. With the Internet of Things, it is possible to acquire the sensor data in real time. The machine learning and deep learning algorithms can then be used to predict the part failure or the equipment failure, provided with there are enough historical data. Consider we can incorporate artificial intelligence to a sensor itself. AI in sensor basically the failed devices are self-capable to take its own decision during the time of any malfunctioning in the industry. AI has taken over most of the industries, which can be a food industry, tech industries, or manufacturing plants, or medical industries, and lot more. So artificial intelligence is a type of intelligence incorporated in devices or software, which will predict the future of operations, or it takes appropriate actions. Consider, as you all know, the common sensor network, right? So the common sensor network work in such a way that the sensor continuously collect the data. The same will be transmitted to the edge device, and then from the edge device to the cloud. The implemented algorithms will process and validate this data, and with the help of all historical data from the database, it will come to a decision. So then any action item or decision will be informed back to the edge aggregator or controlling station to control or behave with the current situation. Here, the main concern is the delay in action. That will depend on the network latency, and the data has to reach to the cloud or the edge device and come back with the processed decision. And this is where AI in sensor can help. Consider, we can implement the AI in the sensor itself to take real-time actions. AI in sensor basically are the field devices which is self-capable to take its own decision during the time of disaster or hazards. The self-decision capability and self-thinking ability of sensors make more reliable and gives a good shape in the product in the market as well. Next slide, please. The machine learning and deep learning. The machine learning offers algorithms that learn from the data. The algorithms learn a representation of training data, and which is then used to make prediction on the out of the sample data. So deep learning is nothing but it refers to a class of machine learning algorithms that use neural network with several layers of processing units. One of the main application of intelligent sensor is predictive maintenance. This is the most important component of smart manufacturing and industry 4.0. The most important goal of predictive maintenance is to recognize any uncommon system behavior and have an early warning for that any catastrophic system damage. Consider in an industry, but the oil temperature is going beyond the normal range, which can cause the engine to stop functioning. Continuous monitoring of such variable and predicting the failures and taking action to prevent them can be referred as a predictive maintenance. The predictive maintenance include reduced downtime, improved quality, and reduction in revenue losses, better compliance, and reduced warranty cost, and of course, the improved safety of operators. Next slide, please. In this slide, you can see the areas where artificial intelligence in sensor can contribute. That can be a smart camera, a radar, or industrial assets, or robotics, or any self-driven cars, or medical equipments, etc. Consider an example of a gas industry. There are hundreds of sensors are connected with IoT platform through some gateways. Sensors are capturing a very critical data, and the action on any malfunctioning has to be real time. Steps involved in normal procedure are data collection by the sensor and then transferring it to the cloud and processing the data and take appropriate action. Sensor with its own intelligence can solve this problem. In short, AI-powered sensor can work independently, take decision by its own by analyzing the data. Next slide, please. In this slide, I would like to brief out the benefits of artificial intelligence in sensor engineering. Improved local intelligence. So the locally improved intelligence with incorporated algorithms are application specific, obviously. So if we take an example of a self-driven car, there are a specific algorithm implemented in the smart car to detect the collision of the vehicle so that it can avoid accidents. Basically, the intelligence is improved by incorporating the algorithms in order to prevent the disaster. Incorporating an artificial intelligence in sensor devices is far better than incorporating it in the cloud. This can save a latency and improve the response time. Reduce data communication requirements. Well, this is also related to faster response time. As I explained, there is no need to wait for user input to perform actions based on the analytics done in the cloud to prevent any hazard, right? So when AI is incorporated in the device, the sensor device will be able to take up the self decisions. Overall reduced energy needs when there is a less data communication from the device or to the cloud. Of course, there will be very less usage of energy, so which increases the battery life. So this is basically targeted to the battery operated devices. Since the sensors device or anything which incorporated with artificial intelligence is self capable to take decisions, and this also will increase the value and quality of the product. Next slide, please. Security is one of the key aspects which has to be focused in the sensor engineering process. Assume the data is getting pushed wirelessly to the cloud. There are chances of attacks in the wireless network. Attacks can also manipulate the data in the wrong way, or it might cause huge loss. The security in sensor network describes the effectiveness of communication between two or more devices in a secured way. There are two types of security that can be implemented in the device. One is security through hardware security accelerator, and security feature implementation in firmware with certain techniques. So the methods used for this is like secured boot or secured firmware update. Say the device needs a firmware upgrade. It's not possible for the manufacturer to go to every field device and update the firmware. So OTA must be a must feature in the field sensor devices. When a firmware is getting updated over the air, then there are chances of firmware being merged with malicious firmware or other malicious firmware. And to avoid this, few security measures can be enabled, like usage of public key, private key hashing, and signature analysis, which makes the device secure. So the secure wireless communication is also a very important aspect in the wireless sensor network. We can achieve this by encryption and decryption of data during the transmission. The TPM accelerators, basically, it's trusted platform module accelerator, but the TPM is a hardware device which can be used as a cryptographic coprocessor. The TPM provides hardware support for cryptographic algorithm acceleration, secure boot, sealing data, and attestation. Next slide, please. Low footprint design in sensor engineering. Low footprint design is the one of the design aspect that enables the user easily to use the product and promotes the easy installation and the maintenance. This takes an extra effort in the initial design phase. The aspect has to be considered in the design phase, maybe the hardware design as well as in the firmware design. The design system will actually help the manufacturing company to help by clearly having a goal of easy installation. As we can see in the diagram, there are multiple scenarios to be considered in the low footprint design, like hardware miniaturization, which is nothing but the reducing the size or volume of the product or PCB, which needs expertise for selecting the components of the product. It is obvious that the memory increases. Like as the memory increases, the cost of the controller also increases, right? So hence the selection of the appropriate memory for the device is really required. For making a sensor a smart one, the processor and memory are really important. The low power computing or ultra low power computing also is a major aspect to be considered, especially if the sensor node is running on a battery. It's very important to select ultra low power computing controller, which can be optimized in both hardware and firmware perspective. Next is cost reduction. Consider the product has good set of feature, a lot of features, but the product cost is very high, which will affect in the sales. So it is very important for the designer to minimize the hardware components cost. And the sensor device must be easily installable for the user. In any wireless sensor network, by increasing the sensor node, each function of each sensor node can be reduced, which will demand a small hardware, and this helps in a low footprint design. Next slide, please. So finally, it is important to understand the purpose of low footprint design. Low footprint design enhances the scalability of the product. During the product design phase itself, since all the important hardware constraints like selection of the processor, selection of the memory extra has taken care, then the sensor product will be very handy and will help in easy installation and maintenance. Along with the digitalization, minimalizing the product is also a key in the sensor engineering. Next slide, please. Here we are at the end of this webinar. As you all know, sensors are the main building block of industrial automation. Industrial automation is a vast area, and the process enables and promotes the transfer of data over digital means, right? So the protocols are basically the key parts of or key path for communication of data. Hence, having a brief idea on different protocols and with the know-how of selecting right protocol in the requirement is most required. Sensor engineering will reduce the manpower risk, in remote areas where there are no entry for humans. It can be a wind turbine or any sophisticated areas like power grids, nuclear power plants, etc. As discussed in the above sections about different aspects in the sensor engineering, each has its own importance, which is well combined will reflect in the digital transformation. Basically, the sensor with intelligence knows what to do and what not to do. So that's all from my side. Thank you for being patient and listening to us. Dishan, it's all yours.
Well, thank you so much, Namdev and Sarang, for your knowledge and sharing the knowledge with the people here. So we are open for questions now. I request the attendees to please use the Q&A icon on your screen and type in your questions, please.
Um, Hey, so there is one question from one of the attendee. So the question is something like, how do you ensure that the addition of the sensor inside the industrial environment will have adequate protection and prevent any intrusions or attacks on the edge device, on the other components of the network? So if I'm not wrong, it is something wherein we will be using some IP rated enclosures, to make sure that the inner part of the circuits don't get damaged. If that is the question with respect to the with where we have not involved any part of the network, so it is totally with respect to the hardware, then probably we will have to use some good set of enclosures like IP65. So there are different variants, so it's totally debatable. And yes, it's a pretty good question. So do you think it's the best communication protocol for? So there is one more question from one of the attendee. What do you think is the best communication protocol for sensor network? um it is actually pretty hypothetical, as I have already discussed in the previous slides, to understand the requirements first from the customer. So yeah, also a few of the parameters, like we have to we have to make sure that we have to know what is the data transfer rate. So what is the range that the customer is expecting, and sampling frequency from the sensor. So there are a lot of key parameters I had already mentioned in the previous slides. So all these should be taken care in order to come to a specific conclusion. So but right now, when we compare the industrial current trend, so I can tell heart is one of them, and also the stack is, it's really amazing. So there are also other protocols, or we can also call it as interfaces like IO-Link, or it can also be an APL. So it is advanced physical layer. And coming to the point of wireless communication network, so we have to take some of the key points, like the range. Basically, if the customer is expecting a range of 1 kilometer, then Bluetooth won't work there. So there are other protocols like sub 1 gigahertz, where we can achieve around at least around 800 to 900 meters of range, and in clear line of sight. So there are different parameters like that, and there is one more constraint, like number of nodes. So in case if we are going with a mesh network, and if the customer needs around like 15 to 16 nodes to be accumulated in one network, then we might have to choose the specific protocol in that case. So it totally depends on the requirement that the customer has actually provided.
There is one question related to machine learning. So, is there any low footprint machine learning available? As I discussed, usually the machine learning hardware are associated with the cloud, which oftentimes is associated with the latency or consuming a lot of power, and fully depend on the network connection speed, right? So the machine learning low footprint is actually available. The answer for this question is yes. For example, I can say there is TinyML. The TinyML is a machine learning. Actually, that shrinks the deep learning networks to fit the tiny hardware or the low footprint hardware.
All right, I think due to time constraints, let's conclude the Q&A right now. And thank you so much for your participation and for your questions. I believe there are a lot of unanswered questions which we would like to answer via email. So if you have any other questions, you can email to us at the rate contact@uttunga.com. You can email to us. I'll repeat, contact@uttunga.com. Before we move on, I would like to have a couple of poll question for 30 seconds. I request the attendees to please select your answers. Which of the following sensor engineering offerings will you be interested for? Thank you so much for your answers. We've got a mixed response actually. So majority of people are looking for wireless support actually. Thanks so much. So next slide. With that, we have come to an end of this session today. Thank you everyone for your participation in the webinar. We hope the session has enhanced your knowledge on sensor engineering and industrial protocols. Utunga as a product engineering company can help you build products and solutions from concept all the way through the life cycle of the product. If you have any other queries, please feel free to reach out to us at contact@utunga.com. Do check out our YouTube channel. You can watch our previously conducted webinars on other topics. Just search for Utunga in the YouTube search bar and the first thing you can find us. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, please. Finally, do follow us on LinkedIn where we share all the latest and ongoing activities there. So goodbye. Thank you so much and stay safe.